All right, welcome to another episode of Political Gurus. So today we're going to talk about Zoran Mamdani. He's the new left rage. We've seen this before. We saw this with AOC. We saw this with Bernie Sanders. Now, it's yet to be proven whether he's a fraud like the two of them and just wants to get in and make money with Senate and Congress and everything. I'm not going to accuse him of that. I'm going to say that he's a true socialist Democrat, and that he really means to do the things he wants to do. But I'm going to argue today that it's absolutely impossible for him to get these things passed, because what America needs, we don't need a cult hero politician. We need a more socialistic government, which within its constitution protects things like, if you're a citizen of America, you deserve free education. If you're a citizen of America, you deserve protection from crime. If you're a citizen of America, you shouldn't have to pay for school to get a PhD, since the fact that your PhD will help America. If you're a citizen of America, you shouldn't be paying taxes to go to Israel and to go all over the world and pay for these things. Now, Zoran Mandani has the idea that within the American democratic system, which is driven by money and driven by banks and driven by capitalism and free market, he thinks he can affect a change. My argument is that no matter how much he tries, it's not going to work, because he's within a political system that's driven by money. He's promised to have freeze rent on rent controlled apartments. Those are apartments where the government regulates it. He promised that. He's promised reduction of transportation fares for people. Good. He hasn't promised health care. He's also promised universal care, health care for universal kindergarten. So if you're a parent and your children have to be taken care of during the day, the government will pay for that. I think that might be possible. But what we don't realize is that he can't pass those things when he becomes mayor. He has to get city council to do it. And you best believe that city council people are not going to vote for anything that goes against the interest of capitalists and businessmen who are also funding the city council. So if he wants a city council member to go and pass his bill, he has to give them an incentive which is bigger than the money they're receiving from lobbyists who will go against his agenda. He doesn't have the power. He has the power to veto a bill, but he doesn't have the power to say, hey, this is my budget. We're going to spend on these things I care about. He has to deal with city council. And I promise you, in a city like New York, which has Wall Street, that is not going to be passed. The only way Mamdani could pass the stuff he wants is if all the people in city council are also social democrats like he is. And then the next question is, who's funding his campaign? And he's under the Democratic Party. He's running as a Democratic Party. So he used the name of the Democratic Party, the DNC, to fund him. Oh, he used their name because that's how he gets the votes. But that's like me saying, I want to be anti-colonial, but I'm also part of America. You can't be part of a party that goes against your agenda. The Democratic Party is not a socialist party. Same thing with Bernie Sanders. He joined the Democratic Party and says he's a socialist. You can't do that because it's a contradiction. It's like saying I'm anti-Nazism, but the party I'm running for is Nazi. Do you see what I'm saying, Kunle? So the Democratic Party is the wrong party for him to run through. He's going to have opposition from the Democratic Party. They're going to cut support for him. He's going to be weak. He's going to be in there as a representative, as a mayor, but he's not going to have anybody on his side. I think he may pass one or two things, like maybe reduced fares for people driving on buses, or maybe one or two apartments will be rent control. But overall, I think he's going to be stifled, and then he's going to have a choice like AOC or Bernie Sanders: join them or leave them. What are your thoughts on what I've said, Kunle?
Yeah, so the way I see it, the biggest threat to America isn't communism, it isn't socialism, it isn't Islam, it isn't racism, it isn't the far right. The biggest threat to Israel, to America right now, is Israel, and it is AIPAC. So
Yeah.
Mandani has now come out as the first Democrat in politics that is visible to the public eye that is not AIPAC funded. Marjorie Taylor Greene has come out as a politician that is not AIPAC funded. If you remember, going back to World War
Remember,
II.
keep on track, because we're going to go back on whether he can deliver what he's supposed to deliver.
Yes, I'll come back to that. I will come back to that. In World War II, very, 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 very briefly, the White Army and the Red Army fought against the Japanese together because they wanted China. They both wanted better for China. When they fought off the Japs, they came back and fought themselves. And I think that's what needs to happen at this point in American politics, is Mamdani needs to actually not worry so much about his socialist policies right now.
In New York. In New York, yes.
Yes, in New York. There's nothing he can do in respect of his policies right now unless he's able to secure a stronger base of support. And in order to do that stronger base of support, he needs to come together with anyone, any politician, even if it's his opponent, and say, this person is not AIPAC funded and this person is viable. I respect him as my opponent or my ally. It does not matter what side of the aisle you are. You can even form another party and call it not AIPAC. I would even say just form another party, call it not AIPAC.
So now you're talking about real
non-AIPAC Democrats. Yeah, the non-AIPAC Democrats can join the MAGA group, and they can work their differences out, and they can say, look, this group is simply to get America back. When we got America back, we can sort out our differences.
Yeah, then we can sort out
that's where I see America right now.
So not just AIPAC. Yeah, well, AIPAC, the reason we say AIPAC, not just AIPAC, AIPAC and the war industry, because Marjorie Taylor Greene is not only just against AIPAC, she's against spending money on war when America should be first.
They're both linked. They're both connected.
She's definitely not a socialist, but she believes in America first. Mamdani believes in America first, and he's a socialist. So these are two opposing agendas, but they can both agree that stop spending money on wars, stop spending money on AIPAC and billions on Israel and Ukraine. Once you do that, at least we know that if you're not spending money on socialism, at least you're not wasting money outside on something that's destroying the fabric of the country. Then he can figure out how to do his socialist movement. And I think that at some point, I don't care whether you're a right wing or MAGA person, doesn't it sound good, whether you're a MAGA racist, doesn't it sound good if you're like, hey, I'm racist and I'm a MAGA, but the government's going to pay for my kids to go to college.
There's an education going on. All of this, I'm not worried about racism, because when they learn more, they're going to learn there's no need to be racist.
But the reason they're against that is because people have told them, they just want to give free money to black people and everything. But they don't realize that it's white people that are poor in America too.
They're just lying.
From capitalism. They're suffering from capitalism. But like you said, the first thing to do, like you said, is to fight American imperialism. Then we can deal with socialism. Thank you.
Yeah.
Whatever thoughts? Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't care how racist you are my friend. If I'm an American, you are my friend. Mamdani needs to look at this sort of thing. He needs to think outside of the Democrat Party right now, because it's not a Democrat Party. It's just an AIPAC, Israeli-controlled fallacy. It supports a party. How can you call yourself
anti-Russian, anti-China, apocalyptic war machine funding party? Go ahead.
Yes. How can you call yourself a party of diversity and then you start supporting an ethno-apartheid state that is committing genocide on a group of people based on their ethnicity and race? But it's just a contradiction. It's a contradiction. Yeah. So everybody in your party, if they're sponsored by AIPAC, they're worse than MAGA. I would rather have a racist,
the number one, Hakeem Jeffries,
that hates black people on my side than a MAGA, than a Zionist, than a Zionist Democrat.
And the biggest pariah is Hakeem Jeffries, who's black and refuses to come and congratulate Muslim. You know Hakeem Jeffries, right? He was the rising boy, black guy, rising boy for the Democratic Party years ago, and he refuses because he's such a whore for Israel. And when you ask him, well, what about the bombing and the killing? He deflects the question and changes the subject. So what he's saying is that I know. He's not a psychopath, but he's so greedy that he'll take their money and look out for his interests in the name of kids. Let me tell you, I like money, but if you offered me $5 million right now to be part of the government and to be part of the army and to help them with operations in Gaza, I would refuse to do it, because there are certain things I'll do for money, but I won't do that because that is actually the death of your soul. I'm not trying to be trite here. Yeah. It's really the death of your soul if you take money and overlook the fact that kids are getting killed. Sorry, Kunle, continue. Hey, we'll talk more about that on another day. Let's get back to the Mamdani thing so that we can focus. So what I'm saying is I don't think it's feasible for him to pass this stuff through City Hall and everything. He may have a slight chance, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think it's futile. So there's not much more we can talk about his thing, because we know, like you said, focus more on the external things like Israel imperialism and
The
everything.
bigger picture,
But
getting
yeah,
foreigners out of your politics before
yeah,
you
yeah,
can deal with your domestic.
yeah,
You see,
because that's
Mamdani
what's
can,
tying up. Because it's tying
yeah,
up America's monetary system, and also you can't have a socialist movement anywhere in America if it's still an imperial country that's involved in multiple genocides around the world.
yeah.
It's a contradiction. You can't have socialism and imperialism together. So I think that's what he should focus on instead. So I'll let you freestyle now for about 2 or 3 minutes before.
Mamdani cannot get any of his policies sorted or brought in until he's removed the cancer from American politics, that is the Israeli lobbies. Once you can remove that, then you can come back to saying, I'm a Democrat, I'm a socialist, I want to give housing, I want to give etc., etc. But until you remove that cancer, you cannot do anything in the interest of America. Whether you're a Democrat that wants to put in socialist policies to help diversity and the poor, or you're a Republican who lives in the rural area and wants to make sure that you are able to do your business and live in peace in
And
your